We're going to break down exactly how you can replicate this very same journey.
So here is our roadmap for today. First, the millionaire mindset. Second, your financial foundation. Third, low-risk index funds. Fourth, the real estate playbook. And finally, number 5, stocks and private business.
All right, starting right off with Section 1, the millionaire mindset. We need to ditch the lottery mentality.
I mean, seriously, are you waiting for a magic fairy? Because most people are completely trapped in what Mark calls a lottery mentality. They're secretly just kind of hoping some magic fairy will swoop down and drop $1 million right into their lap. But here's the harsh truth about that. Even if you did somehow win a huge chunk of money today, without the correct investing foundation and the right mindset, it would disappear in absolutely no time. You'd literally be right back to square one. We've got to stop looking for these get-rich-quick schemes.
The alternative is actually really simple. Mark puts it perfectly. You need a solid, consistent investment plan which gradually builds your wealth over time. Look, it's so incredibly easy to get distracted by the next shiny object out there, right? Things like Bitcoin, random penny stocks, or whatever the latest short-selling craze is on social media. But true, lasting wealth, that comes from ignoring the noise, keeping your strategy consistent, and only putting serious money into things you completely and thoroughly understand. Moving right along to Section 2. Your financial foundation. It's all about building the base. There are 3 absolutely non-negotiable steps to build a bulletproof financial foundation. Seriously, you can't skip these. First, you have to increase your disposable income. Second, you must destroy all high-interest debt. And third, you need to create what we call a freedom fund. Let's break these down real quick. Okay, so the crucial point for step 1 is this. The more you learn, the more you earn. A lot of financial gurus out there will tell you to just make yourself miserable, right? Skip going out, don't buy that morning coffee, basically pinch every single penny. Well, Mark totally disagrees with that approach. Instead of obsessing over saving $3 here and there, focus your energy on dramatically increasing your income. Learn new, highly valuable skills. Start a side hustle. Build a scalable business. But, and this is a massive but, as your income rises, you have got to keep your lifestyle in check. Think of someone like Ed Sheeran. The guy has insane, massive wealth, but he still genuinely enjoys the simple pleasures of life. If you boost your income from, say, $40K to $100K a year, that extra $60K shouldn't go toward funding a flashy new lifestyle. It needs to go straight into your savings and investments.
After you use some of that new income to absolutely obliterate high-interest debts, like credit cards and those payday loans that just destroy your credit score, you have to build this, the Freedom Fund. Basically, this is an emergency fund that covers 3 to 5 months of your living expenses. Why is this so crucial? Because it puts the power entirely back in your hands. It protects you if you suddenly decide you want to quit a toxic job, or if the economy faces a recession, a depression, or, a global epidemic. Once this fund is sitting there, fully loaded, you are officially ready to start investing.
Which brings us to Section 3, low-risk index funds. This is the safe climb. So there's always this massive debate in the investing world. Plenty of financial advisors will try really hard to sell you on mutual funds, claiming they're managed by some super smart person who can somehow magically beat the market. But let's just compare them directly. An index fund, like an S&P 500 fund, is passively managed. It just aims to match the market, and because of that, it charges incredibly low fees. A mutual fund, on the other hand, is actively managed. It tries to beat the market, but it charges massive fees to do so, usually around 1 to 2% annually. Let's look at what those percentages actually mean for your own wallet.
If you invest $10,000 into a solid index fund, like Vanguard's S&P 500 fund, for example, only $7 leaves your account annually in fees. That's it, $7. For $7, you get to own a tiny percentage of all the major powerhouse companies out there: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Disney. And the beauty is, if one of those companies takes a sudden hit, all the others balance it out.
Now check this out. That exact same $10,000 sitting in a mutual fund, that would cost you $200 a year. And guess what? That money goes straight into the fund manager's wallet, completely regardless of whether they actually make you money or lose it through terrible stock choices. This is exactly why, in the vast majority of cases, simple index funds are just the far superior choice for steady, long-term growth.
All right, Section 4, the real estate playbook. Time to talk about tangible assets.
If you're going to step into the real estate game, you have to decide on a clear strategy from day one. Are you going to be a capital gains investor? That means you're trying to buy auction houses on the cheap, flip them, and sell high. Which, hey, that totally works, but you're completely at the mercy of wild housing market fluctuations.
Or are you a cash flow investor? Because this is the exact path Mark takes. A true cash flow investor will never buy a property unless the monthly rent strictly covers the mortgage and brings in a reliable profit every single month. To guarantee that cash flow, Mark uses a brilliant, simple principle called the 1% rule. Basically, for every $100,000 spent on a property, it absolutely must generate a minimum of $1,000 a month in rent. If it doesn't hit that metric, he just walks away. Doesn't buy it. He actually applied a version of this to his very first property. It was a one-bedroom apartment he picked up for $50,000. He rented it out for $500 a month, held on to it for 10 years, and eventually sold the place for $150,000. That, right there, is the sheer power of holding tangible, cash-flowing assets.
And finally, we hit the top of the pyramid. Section 5, Stocks and Private Business. High risk, high reward.
Look, way too many people invest in single stocks just because their buddy told them it was a sure thing. If you don't personally understand the stock, do not invest in it. Instead, you really need to master two specific methods of analysis. First up is quantitative analysis. You've got to look past just the Google stock price and actually read the company's quarterly reports. Check out their balance sheets and their cash flow. Then you apply qualitative analysis. This means looking at the abstract stuff. Does the company have great leadership? They have raving, obsessed fans? A perfect example Mark uses for this is Tesla. If you looked beyond just the raw numbers early on, Tesla had Elon Musk, an army of fiercely loyal customers, and they were clearly at the absolute forefront of inevitable electric technology.
But the golden rule of buying individual stocks is diversification. Fun fact, Mark actually turned a $5,000 individual stock investment into a $100,000 profit in his early 20s, which he then used to buy a massive warehouse for his business. Incredible, right? But he constantly stresses that if you are going to pick single stocks, you absolutely must diversify across totally different sectors, like healthcare, technology, and so on. Because if you put all your eggs into one sector's basket, you leave yourself wide open to absolutely devastating losses if that specific industry takes a hit.
Now for the ultimate wealth builder, investing in private businesses. Think of this kind of like being an investor on Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, just, on a slightly smaller scale. This route allows you to combine your actual cash with your own unique business expertise. You aren't just blindly buying a stock on an app. You're actively swaying the odds of success in your own favor by getting your hands dirty and getting involved.
Let me give you an example. When Mark was approached by a connection over in China to invest in a brand new hotel supply business, he didn't just passively wire over some cash. The founder of that business needed someone he could trust, someone who deeply understood the business landscape, and crucially, someone who could open major doors in the English-speaking market. Mark brought his extensive contacts and his skills right to the table. In return for that, he got a hefty stake in a very lucrative business, secured way better deals for himself, and he even managed to get free building materials and a hot tub for his own house extension. The takeaway here is that when you invest in private equity, your personal skills are just as valuable as the cash you put in.
And there you have it. That is the entire journey. We've climbed all the way from shifting your mindset and building that crucial freedom fund, straight through low-fee index funds and cash-flowing real estate, right up to the high-stakes world of private equity. You now have the complete chronological roadmap that turns $0 into millions. So I'm going to leave you with this final critical question. Knowing everything you know right now, which step of this wealth pyramid are you going to conquer today? It's time to start climbing.